Hello, everybody. Steven Ruderman here with your Insomniac Lunatic Fringe Giants postgame show at 11:50 at night. That's why we call it the Insomniac Lunatic Fringe. The Giants, after the Mets had lost three straight, were unable to capitalize. The Mets lost on Saturday in Cincinnati. The Giants blew a 2-0 lead they had in the ninth inning. Ryan Walker couldn't get a guy out in the bottom of the ninth. Yesterday, the Mets lost again. The Giants came back from down 4-0 with 3 runs in the top of the sixth inning in St. Louis against Sonny Gray, who had taken a no-hitter into the sixth inning, but after sitting around in the bottom of the fifth, couldn't get his feet back on the ground. But then Jung-Hoo Lee looks at 2 nasty pitches, and you can't blame Jung-Hoo Lee for that. Just a couple of really nasty pitches by Swanson, the right-hander of the Cardinals, and then Casey Schmidt flies out to right center to end the inning. The Giants just couldn't take advantage of it, and once again they lose and remain 4 back. Tonight, the Phillies beat the Mets 1-0, so the Giants would have a third straight opportunity to get to just 3 back of the Mets for the third wild card in the National League. And all I was thinking was they better take advantage of this thing. So Logan Webb was back to his familiar place, starting after a Giants loss. A weird night at Oracle Park. We're getting some of that monsoonal moisture here at Oracle Park, creeping its way from the desert up into Northern California. Actually, no, the monsoonal moisture is coming from the kind of the high deserts up in Oregon, Washington, that area. So that monsoonal moisture, usually the monsoonal moisture creeps up from Arizona. This monsoonal moisture is coming actually down from the high deserts of Oregon and Washington, being pushed down as part of a cold front that's coming in. Anyway, it was a weird night. It was like 70 degrees at the park. It was somewhat overcast. You had a full moon, and just for the record, when there's a full moon, weird things are going to happen at the Art. That's just baseball. So Logan Webb was on the mound. The Giants were unable to come through in an opportunity in the bottom of the first inning. The Giants were unable to do anything with a 2-out double. And then in the top of the second, well, things started to go awry. As Logan Webb was back out for the second, Christian Koss made a very costly error. A costly error that would lead to 3 Diamondbacks runs. Bottom of the second, Jung-Hoo Lee would hit a home run to right field to put the Giants on the board and make it 3-2. Top of the third, the Diamondbacks would get one of those runs back. They'd make it 4-2, but with 2 outs in the bottom of the third, Dominic Smith ended up hitting a home run to right to tie it. It was 4-4. Logan Webb ended up going 6 innings, giving up 4 runs. Not exactly a quality outing, but with the circumstances he faced tonight, no wind blowing out, which made the ballpark a lot more live than usual. And here's the weird thing about Oracle Park. With the dimensions of Oracle Park, you would think it would be a hitter's ballpark, because it would be if it was built in most other locations, not just in the country, but on this planet. But because of the fact it's in San Francisco, where it's cold and the wind swirls, it's one of the most pitcher-friendly ballparks in all of baseball. And granted, to Logan Webb's credit, even though 6 innings, 4 runs isn't exactly a quality outing, only one of the runs was earned. Again, it was because of Christian Koss's error in the second. He did strike out 7. So it was a 4-4 game. And the Giants were facing the left-hander Brandon Garcia in the bottom of the 6th inning. He had taken over in the 5th for Nabil Crismat, who had gotten the start for Arizona. He went 4 innings, so Garcia was back out for the bottom of the 6th. Matt Chapman was at the plate. When you're hot, you catch the breaks. Chapman, it's a chopper to short. Perdomo comes in. He kind of looked like double clutches, but really he was having a hard time getting a grip on the ball, and he ends up throwing it away from Vargas at first base. Bob Melvin then has Luis Matos pinch hit for Drew Gilbert. Matos gets to a 3-0 count, then it goes to 3-2, and then he ends up drawing the walk. And then Jung-Hoo Lee was at the plate. Melvin, I believe Melvin had him lay down a bunt. I say I believe because I certainly seen that was a sacrifice situation. That Lee was not trying to bunt for a hit. He bunts when it goes somewhat on the third base side. Gabriel Moreno, the Diamondbacks catcher, I don't know what he's doing there. He's unable to get a throw off. Everyone is safe. Kyle says Webb did get a quality start if only one run was earned. All right, fair. And I'll get some more of your comments in a moment. I just want to get through the game recap here. So Torey Lovullo comes out, brings in the former Giant, Anthony DeSclafani, Disco. And Christian Koss comes to the plate. Koss wanting to atone for his error in the second inning. He gets a knuckle curve to be exact, on the outside corner at the knees, shoots it off the end of the bat down the right field line into the corner, knocks in a pair with a double, gives the Giants their first lead of the night. That had to feel pretty good for Christian Koss. He atones for his error in a huge way. Patrick Bailey comes up. He knocks in Jung-Hoo Lee with a sacrifice fly to left. It's now 7-4. Here comes Elia Ramos. Ramos hits a bomb to left center field, halfway up into the bleachers in left center field for his 17th home run of the season. The Giants put up a 5 spot in the bottom of the 6th inning. They led it 9-4. Joey Lucchesi threw a scoreless 7th, and then Tristan Beck, he gave up a home run to Gabriel Moreno in the top of the 8th. Through a scoreless top of the 9th. Giants end up with a big win, 11-5. And before I forget, Matt Chapman hit a home run in the bottom of the 7th, a line drive home run that hurried on out into the tunnel just beyond the wall in left center. And then Patrick Bailey hit his 4th home run of the year to right in the bottom of the 8th. 5 home runs for the Giants, the most in a home game since Saturday, July 31st, 2021. Now, as people know, I'm generally not a fan of Giants relying on home runs. The ball was carrying tonight. And Matt Chapman was not trying to hit a home run in his situation. I mean, that was a ball that any other night of the year would have been a gapper. Maybe even just a little base hit, to little line drive base hit in shallow, I mean, not shallow, but medium left center field. The ball was just jumping off the bat tonight. And with the weird monsoonal moisture coming in from the northeast, you're probably going to see the ballpark play this way. Definitely these next 2 games. We're getting some rain coming into Northern California over the next 3 days. It's going to clear out Friday and Saturday, and then we're going to get some more rain potentially on Sunday. So you'll definitely see the ballpark play this way tomorrow and Wednesday, and good chance you'll see it play this way on Sunday as well. And so the Giants finally come through on their 3rd try following a Mets loss. The Giants are 73-71, and they are just 3 games behind the Mets for the 3rd wild card in the National League. The Giants came into this game tied with the Reds. The Reds, like the Giants, are 72-71. The Reds had a 3-0 lead in San Diego. The Padres scored 3 to tie it, and then in the bottom of the 10th, Fernando Tatis hit a walk-off base hit. I'm cheering for the Padres on that. Look, we're not going to catch the Padres for the 2nd wild card. It's going to be the 3rd wild card if we get into the playoffs. So one reason to cheer them on is because, we're also in a dogfight with the Reds. Now, the good news is with the Reds, the Giants went 5-1 against them. So all we need is a winning record against them, and we beat them out. Should, for whatever weird reason, the Giants and Reds end up tied for the 3rd wild card, and the Mets being a game behind us, Giants would have the tiebreaker over the Reds, which they do not have over the Mets or the Padres. And we want the Padres to win because they're only a game behind the Dodgers in the National League West. And I thought maybe there was a chance the Dodgers would lose to the Rockies tonight. But the Dodgers scored 1 in the bottom of the 6th, 2 in the bottom of the 7th. They beat the Rockies 3-1. So let's take a look-see at the standings in the National League. This is the wild card standings. This is how it all looks. Kenny Rainier says, "Hey now, go Yankees." Well, Yankees currently hold the first wild card in the American League, and they're only 2 back of the Blue Jays. So anyway, we'll get to the Yankees. I'll touch upon the Yankees just to be courteous to my guest here. But as you can see in the National League, Cubs have the first wild card at 81 and 63, 2 up on the Padres, who hold the second wild card at 79 and 65. The Padres, are 3 up on the Metropolitans, who hold the third wild card at 76 and 68. They, being the Mets, are now 3 up on the Giants. Definitely hearing footsteps. Again, the Giants have one of the easiest schedules in all of baseball the rest of the way. The Mets have one of the hardest schedules in baseball the rest of the way. They're in Philadelphia right now. They have to play the Padres in New York next week. They've got a hard schedule. Now, of the 3 teams, or we should say of the, I'm not sure. The Giants are 6 back of the Padres. So I'll say of the 2 teams competing. The Mets are a lot better on paper than the Giants. But remember, the Mets were 20 games over 500 in June. Now they are just 8 games over 500. And while they might have a much better team on paper than the Giants have a much better chemistry. And another key thing is something tells me the Giants want it more than the Mets. As Kyle said, these races are awesome this year. After what was really the worst season, at least in my time as a fan last year, in which there were really no good pennant races. And I understand, the Mets and the Tigers make their late runs to save what was a basically storyless season team-wise last year. But despite that, it was still like the worst season in terms of like overall stories and just how the game was played overall. This year has been so much better. And Kyle, you and I have talked about how one of the big themes in baseball this year has been teams that have been hovering around 500 that get hot and get well above 500 and then collapse and fall well below 500 only to get hot again and get back above 500. And the Giants have become the textbook example. The Giants, of course, got off to the 24-14 start through May 6th. Through May 7th. When they took 2 or 3 from the Cubs at Wrigley. They were 41-29 after beating the Dodgers on June 13th at Dodger Stadium. They fell all the way to 7 games under 500 after a Contreras walk-off home run in Milwaukee on August 22nd. The Giants were 7 games under 500 at 61 and 68. The Giants have since gone 12-3. They are 2 games over 500 at 73 and 71, and they are just 3 games back of the Mets for the third wild card in the National League. Again, now the Mets had a 5-1 record a 4-2 record against the Giants. They swept the Giants in late July. The Giants took 2 or 3 a week later at Citi Field. The Giants are going to have to beat them out. They're going to have to gain 4 more games in their final 18 games. It can absolutely be done. Now, let's say the Mets go 7-11 the rest of the year and end up finishing at 83 and 79. All the Giants need to do is go 11-7. Both of those situations are incredibly realistic. And the Mets, they're hearing footsteps. For a team that they were 7 games ahead of, now to just be 3 games behind them, the Mets are hearing footsteps, and that's going to put more pressure on them. For much of the season, it had been pretty much a guarantee that the Mets were going to go to the playoffs. I mean, the Reds were hovering around there, but I think the Reds are a good young team, but I never felt like they were fully ready this year. I feel like next year the Reds could really be something as you get another look at the National League standings. But they're going to feel and hear those footsteps from the Giants. Again, Mets go 7-11, Giants go 11-7. And they're in. Wouldn't even rule out the Mets to go 6-12. And then all the Giants need to do is go 10-8. Anything can happen. Let's say the Mets go 500 the rest of the way. They go 9-9. Giants would then need to go 13-5. Now that might be a tall order, but it's doable. You look at the schedule the Giants have. You have the 7 games against the Dodgers, but you have the 5 games they're playing against Arizona. You have the 3 games at home against the Cardinals. Now, granted, the Giants lost 2 or 3 to the Cardinals over the weekend at Busch Stadium, but the Cardinals are not exactly a juggernaut team. The Giants will have them at home where they are playing much better baseball after the Giants went on a horrendous stretch at home. The Giants have now won 7 of their last 8 games at home, dating back to August 17th when they won the finale of their 3-game series against the Tampa Bay Rays. Giants are playing much better baseball at home. Schedule is definitely in the Giants' favor. I think they can do it. I'm not going to say they are going to do it because I don't want to get my hopes up. I'm not going to make a prediction on this one. I feel like anything can happen, and we're just going to have to stay tuned and watch a very exciting final 3 weeks of the regular season play out. Kyle is making a bold prediction. He says, quote, "Something tells me the New York market and the money they spent, the bottom is going to fall out for the Mets. The Giants clinch it on game 162. Hey, you never know. And if the Giants are truly getting back into this thing, perhaps maybe I should make a trip to Arizona next week and cover the Giants and the Diamondbacks. Might be a little fun. Do me some good to go down to Phoenix. I had a lot of fun when I went down there 2 years ago for the exact same time, second to final weekday series of the season. It was a 2-game set in Arizona. The Giants were hanging on to contention. And before we get ahead of ourselves, the Giants, after a walk-off win against the Guardians on Wednesday, September 13th, 2013, were just a half game back of the Diamondbacks for the third wild card. But they completely fell apart. However, that was a much different clubhouse. The Giants had a pretty good clubhouse early that year, but that clubhouse had really fallen apart later in that year when Gabe Kapler lost control of the team. And just things were too out of control under Kapler, and now everything is different. Now, Kyle, there's something I want to talk to you about. Bob Melvin. I think barring some really god-awful collapse in the final 3 weeks, Melvin's probably coming back. And I think he's earned that. However, I still believe that changes need to be made in terms of the coaching staff. As you and I have talked about, I have great respect for Pat Burrell. Smart baseball guy, longtime baseball guy, but his talents are more in scouting than coaching. And the fact that the Giants have at times this year relied way too much on home runs when it was proven in April that they did not need to do so was to me very concerning. And I don't care if they go to the playoffs. I don't care if they win the World Series. Okay, I really doubt the latter is going to happen, but even if they go to the playoffs, you can't write off and ignore what happened between May 9th and August 22nd. The Giants spent the majority of their season playing bad baseball. And Kyle agrees. He had no problem with Melvin coming back. Burrell needs to go. And the Giants just can't say, oh, everything's great. We're going to run back the same playbook next year. The stretch the Giants went on from May 9th to August 22nd clearly laid out what needs to be improved on this team. Whether we like it or not, this was the 4th straight year of mediocre Giants baseball. A mediocre Giants baseball that had them on the fringes of contention and playing meaningful baseball in September. The Giants played meaningful baseball even in 2022. They went on that run to get to 5 back of what was it? 4.5 back with 4 to go, with the Phillies playing a doubleheader the day after on October 1st. The Phillies were playing the doubleheader in DC on October 2nd. The Giants lost to be eliminated on game 158. I'll say they somewhat played meaningful baseball in September of 2022, even a meaningful game on October 1st of 2022. They did play meaningful baseball in 2023, and they're playing meaningful September baseball here in 2025. But at the end of the year, this was the 4th straight mediocre season of Giants baseball. Improvements need to be made on and off the field. Players, coaches, front office. And by front office, I don't mean Buster. I mean the Giants need to expand their scouting department and cut back on the analytics. And I would actually even argue, Sam Lubman and I were talking about the Sam Lubman, who is the producer of the Morning Roast, 95.7 The Games, 95.7 The Game, 6 to 10 weekdays, Monday through Friday on 95.7 The Game. Was also hosting the Orange and Black Weekend Wrap over the summer, which ended with the Niners season upon us. And with the fact that the Giants had fallen out of contention, though, who knows, maybe with the Giants back in it, we'll see some more editions of the Orange and Black Weekend Wrap. I don't know. Something we can always hope for. And by the way, Sam, one of my best friends in the world, this is my show, and I want to use my show to thank one of my best friends, Sam Lubman, for allowing me to come on, not just as a caller, but as a guest back on August 9th when we talked about calling up Bryce Eldridge. And by the way, Kyle, under no circumstances should the Giants be calling up Bryce Eldridge if they're in contention. You don't throw him in to the heat of a pennant race. Like, hey, Bryce, get on up here. Welcome to the big leagues, kid. Now get us to the playoffs. No pressure. You don't do that. But Sam and I were talking about how this is kind of year 0 of the Buster era and really year 7 of the Farhan era, because outside of 2021, 2019, 2020, and then 22, 23, 24, and 25 were all the same, in which we saw points in all of these seasons, 19, 20, 22, 23, 24, and here in 25, where the Giants played tremendous baseball, including in 2019 in July, in 2020 when they were 8-16 and then went on that run to get to 2 games over 500 in September before missing out on the final day of the season and going 30-30 in that COVID shortened sprint season. We saw them play great baseball at various points in 22 and 23 and even last year in 24, but we also saw them play really bad baseball at various points in all of those seasons. And he still had a lot of the players who were here under Farhan. I consider this year 7 of the Farhan era. I believe that there have been 6 eras of San Francisco Giants baseball. The Mays-McCovey era from 58 to 72, the bad era from 72 to 85, the Humbaby era from 86 to 92, the Bonds era from 93 to 07. Yes, I do consider it all that one era. The championship era from 08 to 2018, and then the Farhan era number 6 of San Francisco Giants baseball, 2019 through 2025. I feel like next year, 2026, will be the true beginning of a new era. You could maybe call it the Buster. Maybe you could call it the Bryce Eldridge era, since Bryce Eldridge will be coming up next year. Knock on wood. But, the last 4 years, the Giants went all out with a mediocre team, a mediocre to solid team. And it could pay off for them this year. But my point being is major changes still need to be made, both on and off the field. And even if they make the playoffs, you can't just ignore what happened between May 9th and August 22nd and write it off as some fluke. Because if the Giants just sing kumbaya after going to the playoffs and everyone's happy and they decide to just run back the same product next year, then next year will be a lot like 22, 23, and last season 2024. And I'd rather that not happen. And Kyle said it perfectly. The difference is Buster truly believes in them. Farhan never did. And I do think, as mediocre as they were these last 3 years, I think had things gone differently, if Farhan had shown more confidence in his team the last 3 years, they could have easily been in the playoffs all of the last 3 years. And we could be looking at potentially the 5th straight trip to the playoffs for the Giants here in 2025. I don't think I'm insane to say that. And I want the Giants to pull this thing off. I want to go to the playoffs. I want to be able to get the swag of the postseason media badge. Because you get when you get access to the postseason, you get some real swag. Okay, you get some real swag, and I want that. But I just don't want Buster to think everything's great and then run back the same thing next year. Because if you just run back the same thing next year and just say the season was a complete success, and you bring every single person back next year and make very few changes, then next year will not be pretty. Kyle said Farhan's big trade addition 1 year was Scooter Gennett. In all fairness, that was 2019 when we all thought the Giants would lose 95 to 100 games, and they went on that run in July. And actually, to give Farhan credit, he did a really good job for that trade deadline. Now, Robbie Ray is going to get the start tonight because since I went on the air, the date changed from September 8th to September 9th. So now it is Tuesday, September 9th, 2025, which means this post-game show is about a game that happened last night, and the next game in which Robbie Ray will be starting will be happening tonight. Robbie Ray will go for the Giants. The Mets are in Philadelphia. They're having to face Ranger Suarez, who's having a good year. If Ranger Suarez and Robbie Ray can both have good outings, and the Phillies and Giants offenses can do their jobs, then perhaps the Giants will be 2 games back with 17 to go. And now, and what's going to be big is you got the three-game series with the Dodgers this weekend. And look, Giants are 7 back of the Dodgers. It is very unlikely the Giants are going to win the National League West. I'm rooting for the Padres to win the West. Force the Dodgers to have to go to Wrigley Field for the wild card game. But if the Giants can have a good showing against the Dodgers, go 4-3 or even 5-2 against the Dodgers, with the Mets' tough schedule and the teams the Giants are playing other than the Dodgers, I think the Giants stand a good shot at making the postseason. I really do. I mean, we're going to have to see how the final 3 weeks plays out. How the final 3 weeks play out. I'm not going to make any predictions, but I am definitely going to hope that the Giants can pull this thing out. We're going to have a lot of fun with this, and we're going to hope the Giants can pull this thing out, and then that the Giants are going to either LA or San Diego for the wild card series, so I can maybe travel for that. And I can get that cool postseason swag. I've always been envious of guys, of whether you're in the media or you're around the team or whatever, who get the, because like if you get like access to the postseason, you get like really cool stuff. You get the lanyard with the postseason logo on, you got the badge with the logos on it, you get some really cool swag. And I would really love to be able to get that. So we'll talk about the Yankees. The Yankees, of course, were in turmoil a month ago. They're playing much better baseball right now. We'll look at the American League East, the American League. Well, we could say the American League East standings. They're just 2 back of the Blue Jays now, who have been treading water a little bit. The Yankees have the first wild card. They are a game ahead of the Red Sox, who have the second wild card. The Yankees are 80-63. The Red Sox 80-65. The Mariners, they were going through a complete tailspin, and their season was falling apart. They win the final 2 of their series in Atlanta. They beat the Cardinals at T-Mobile Park last night. They're back on track, and it's about time because the Rangers have been playing better ball. They won 2 straight, including one against the Brewers. So the Rangers are just a game and a half back of the Mariners for the third wild card in the American League. Mariners are 76-68. The Rangers are 75-70, and the Guardians, by the way, are 2.5 back of the Mariners at 73-70. The Royals have the same record as the Giants. They're adding the same placement. So it's as if Mike Yastrzemski was never traded in his mind. No matter where he was, he would be on a team with a 73-71 record. That was 3 games back of the third wild card in his league. And for anyone who cares, the Rays are 71-72, 4.5 back. I really don't want to see postseason baseball played in a minor league park, so let's just hope the Rays miss the playoffs this year. Better luck to them when they're back at the Trop next year. So anyway, the Giants can go out and win again tonight. Again, a Giants win, a Mets loss. With Robbie Ray on the mound for the Giants, Ranger Suarez on the mound for the Phillies, the Giants can be just 2 games back. Kyle adds, the White Sox comeback is going to amaze people this October. Oh, it will. Oh, look, I'm looking forward to the White Sox, baby. 2025 world champion, Chicago White Sox. All right, for Kyle Foster and Kenny Rainier and my boss, Lee Leonard, because the Insomniac Lunatic Fringe is a production of Sports Radio Service. I'm Steven Ruderman. I hope you enjoyed our show. Have a good night. Giants and Diamondbacks back at it tonight. Robbie Ray's on the mound. Giants are just 3 back with 18 to go. Oh, yeah, and I need a fake corporate sponsor for my pennant race coverage. Ever since 2009, when I would announce games without a recorder and just announce them while watching on the TV, I'd say, Giants Pennant Race Baseball is brought to you by, just for the hell of it, to insert a fake corporate sponsor. I got to find a fake. So you know what? Maybe I should find a real pennant race sponsor. Wouldn't be the worst idea, though I would make it a small business. Probably a little late to do it now, so maybe I'll do a fake corporate sponsor for Giants Pennant Race Baseball this year, and then I'll do a real small business sponsor for Giants Pennant Race Baseball next year, should they be in the pennant race next year. All right. For Lee Leonard, for Kyle Foster, and for Kenny Rainier, I'm Steven Ruderman. I hope you enjoyed this Insomniac Lunatic Fringe Giants postgame show. Robbie Ray goes for the Giants tonight. The Giants are 3 back with 18 to go. If they win tonight and the Mets lose, they'll be 2 back with 17 to go. Have a good night, folks. I'll talk to you soon.